A very good evening to you. You're watching the Hot Seat on TV1. I am Chaturanga Hapuarachi. The popular belief is that Sri Lanka received independence in the 1948. But is this the case? Some say that Sri Lanka received true independence in 1977 and the 1978 year. But some even say that Sri Lanka received change and independence on the 8th of January in the year 2015. But from what we see, the only free and independent people in this country at present are those who were accused of corruption by the previous government. What is happening in our country? To talk of all this and more, we have an eminent personality here with us in the studio, an active parliamentarian, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. Good evening to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Chaturanga.
Sri Lanka has been having independence for 69 long years. But are we an independent state in your view?
Yeah, independence could develop from self-management to total independence on political, economic and socially. If we are ready to manage our things and deliver for the future, we can enjoy fruits of independence. But if we are totally dependent continuously for our economic survival, for our political survival, on outside assistance, we cannot say we have again full independence. So this is what we have to achieve. Certain amount of victories were won in 1956, where the common man got a place in general terms all across the board. 1972, when Ms. Bandaranaike declared Sri Lanka a republic. Now that was moving away from the British
Colonial
rule, being a republic. From there on, economic development, political developments have been challenging.
Mr. Gunawardena, from the time of my grandparents to my parents and even to my time, and maybe from what it looks like to the time of my children, Sri Lanka has been a developing country. We have never been developed and we have not gone down from being a developing country as well. How long do you think that Sri Lanka will remain a developing country?
No, it all depends on the, you see, when one says developing or developed, etc., it is by the calculations of the Western world. Whether people are happy, whether people's expectations are delivered. These are the, I guess, the key factors that must be taken into consideration. According to Bhutan, they have their own
system,
measurements and indexes which measure the happiness of people. So Sri Lanka could evolve something, process where economic development will benefit the majority, and we will also be able to harness our untapped resources for the future, where the Sri Lankan growing, the new generation will be able to enjoy it here. That we have not achieved. We are not on any footing towards that, because Sri Lanka has not had a growing or a evolving plan, 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. Every time a government comes, everything changes.
Mr. Gunawardena, another point another accusation rather that is leveled against the government is that every time someone comes up with a policy, there is no policy consistency or there is no implementation at all. And this seems to be a major problem in this government as well. There seems to be people coming forward and laying out proper policies, but there is no implementation. What do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I think very much. I agree with you. This government promised quite a lot of things and they have not been able to deliver, because politicians normally have a habit of promising things which they can't deliver. But we have come to a stage where the society is literate, society knows what's going on in right across the world. The new generation has access to all forms of information. Therefore, one cannot just promise and not deliver, and one cannot promise things which cannot be delivered. So this is the challenge that we have to overcome seriously, with better participation of the citizen and government. These have not happened in our country.
Let me bring back the situation and zoom out a bit and talk about the political situation in our country. Be it the ruling party or be it the opposition in parliament, there seems to be some sort of political situation at present. You can see it through the media that there is something going on in parliament, that everyone's attention has been focused there. There is talk of a cabinet reshuffle. We do not know whether it will happen or whether it will not happen. But do you think, from the opposition point of view, do you think that the role of the opposition in the country is carried out properly as of now?
The role of the opposition, now if you take the role of the opposition, it is the JO, the joint opposition, the major group in parliament, 51, plus the backing of the masses with former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. But this is not recognized in parliament. That's one big obstacle, or one wrong decision made by the speaker, where you're trying to deprive or you're trying to control the strong opposition, which has to be recognized. Opposition's role in any democracy right across the world is recognized either in parliament and outside. But even without this due recognition, the JO has been able to act as the people's opposition, the strongest opposition, being very responsible for what we have been saying and doing, and bringing the government to a position of on the defense today. I would say they were on the offensive the first year, political offensive, trying to tell the people what they were saying can be believed. But it is a state today that it has been brought to. We have been able to show how corrupt the government in dealing with the central bank bond issue, how corrupt the government has been dealing with other major tender issues, disrespect for Supreme Court orders. I could go right along. And in parliament, where they can't control their own government group, within the government opposing views are expressed. Now, how can you expect stability in such a country? They have created the instability, and opposition has been able to advance. So politically today, parliament gets this political effect of uncertainty. There will be cabinet reshuffles, cabinet perhaps ministers being removed, because the crisis is growing. The economic crisis, political crisis. When that happens, ministers get reshuffled, ministers leave, government MPs cross to the opposition, and we have an opposition leader who is virtually not been heard.
With that, we will have to go into a short commercial break. How can we achieve stability? We'll have the answers when we come back. Well, good evening to you. You are watching the Hot Seat. Of course, we have Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena here in the studio. We were talking about the role of the joint opposition and how our country can achieve stability. Let's talk to parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena once again. So, I asked you about how the opposition's role is being carried out. You said that the opposition leader is not even heard of in parliament. Now, when it comes to all of this, the joint opposition is from our point of view, from the general point of view, you can say that the joint opposition is working with the SLFP, and in most of the instances has been backing either the former president or the current president. So where is the joint opposition standing now? Are you saying that the former president should come into power, or are you saying that President Maithripala should be made strong in his position and help him to carry the country forward? What is going on in terms of the joint?
No, very clearly we formed the joint opposition because we were not in agreement of the SLAP joining the UNP as a minor partner in forming the government, and that their policies were contradictory to each other, and it will bring negative results to the country, which has proved to be correct. And what next? Those who oppose the UNP and its policies formed the joint opposition. All the political parties plus the SLAP MPs, 51 MPs who did not cross the line, who were seated in the opposition because our mandate was to sit in opposition. President Sirisena did not call us to form the government. Had he called us, we would have formed the government. Now, we are therefore in the opposition, being able to democratically criticize what is bad for the country, what is bad for the people, and what is bad in the development to the future. In relation to the rights of the people, it's only the joint opposition that has been calling for local government elections, which have been deprived to right across the country today, from the north to the south. And I would say
why is there a delay, Mr. Gunawardena, when it comes to the local government elections?
Local government election, there is within the government, I guess, a fear that they will not be able to win the election in a comfortable.
That is from the UNP faction or the SLFP faction?
Of course, both are together at the moment. Both feel that they can't win on their own, that the JO will
overpower them.
If it happens, it's bad for public opinion in Sri Lanka and internationally.
Yes.
So they're trying to prevent this by holding and being undemocratic.
What do you think? Can the JO overpower the current government, the SLFP and the UNP coalition government?
Yeah, we were able to, even after the January 8 defeat, within a matter of 6-7 months, we were able to muster with President Rajapaksa a movement where we challenged the government. Then at the general election, it was neck to neck, and we won, and we were able to overtake the UNP in about 90 electorates. So the situation is today more positive, I would say, because of the failures of the government, being unable to deliver on all fronts. Not a single front where the government could say, we have done our job. It is a great achievement to the country or to the people.
Now, right before the break, we spoke about political independence, economical independence, as well as social independence. Politically, there seems to be something happening, and there are, when it comes to obtaining vehicles for the ministers, when it comes to privileges, there seems to be a consensus between all the parties. But economically, the country is at a very dangerous, risky situation. Is the government directly responsible for this? Because we saw in the past of the bond scam, the government did not take action. The president had to intervene and appoint a presidential commission of inquiry. Lots of cases like this. So what is your view? How is the economy being put into such a state? Who did this?
Now, whoever comes into government has to manage the economy and bring positive results in growth, in delivery of other essential services, production, employment to the people. This has to be delivered by managing the economy. For that, I feel there has to be stability. Political stability brings economic stability. Now, both these fronts, when it starts collapsing, which is manifested very clearly in the devaluation of the rupee going down, government being unable to stop, stock market shares being sold and the foreign exchange being taken out of the country in millions, which affects the reserves. Of course, the government had a favorable era when the oil prices were rock bottom. Today it is now climbed up to 52. Not going to be easy for the government. There is no open check available. So they have to deliver. And if they do not manage the economy well by pruning off unnecessary expenditure, stopping corruption, though they were accused in the last government, managing the sectors which can grow. Now you would agree with me, for the last 100 years we can talk of tea, rubber, coconut. Now from recent maybe 20 years, garments have come in. What are the other new areas that Sri Lanka has explored into? This is why President Rajapaksa's time stabilized the economy and political situation, and we had growth of the economy. Economic growth is one way where people could benefit, people will have more opportunities, business ventures will have more opportunities, and the economy could attract more from outside. And that situation was stalled when this government came. Immediately they stalled all development projects. They bad, irrespective of the government's decision, because they had to go back again on their decisions. The cycle that was moving on was stopped. And when a cycle is stopped, it has its negative multiplier effects right across society and the economy. This is what we are feeling today. To pick up, it will take time, but there's nothing new that is being offered, nothing new that is being planned in our economic development.
You have brought the conversation to an interesting point, but we have to go into a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more. You are watching the Hot Seat. Welcome back to the Hot Seat. We are in discussion with Parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena on the situation of our country. Parliamentarian Gunawardena, let me very quickly ask you, since we are running out of time. You said that there is nothing new that has come into the table. But every time the government comes forward with a new policy, be it a new economic zone that is being created, the joint opposition is in the forefront trying to stop whatever is happening. You all are the ones who are organizing the protests. You all are the one who is being attacked with tear gas and water cannons. Why is the joint opposition trying to hinder everything that happens in our country? That is an accusation that is raised against you. What do you have to say?
Now, of course, the government says that we are opposing everything and preventing their moving forward. It is not correct. If you take the issue of Hambantota port, government firstly they stopped the project, then they have now offered 95-year lease, renewable of another 95 years, unprecedented in Sri Lanka's history except for the times of the British period.
But
British period, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And then another increasing of acreage for the zone to 15,000. All farmlands that were developed is being absorbed.
But what the government is saying, Mr. Gunawardena, is because this is done because there was debt of the previous government and that the Rajapaksa regime had taken so much of loans, so much of corruption. That is their argument.
They have been accusing right through every UNP government that comes, accuses the previous non-UNP governments. There was an accusation against Mrs. Bandaranaike in the same way as when she lost power. So there is nothing new for the UNP. Whenever they come, they have a grand plan and a grand talk, but the country suffers and they get thrown out. This is what has happened to the UNP. Every government has borrowed. You take President Jayabardhanu's government or the Mahaveli project. It was a tremendous debt burden. Did the new government of Chandrika Bandaranaike say, look, you all have taken too much of debts, therefore I am not going to pay? No. So you see, wherever infrastructure is developed, where the country can benefit, country has to make use of it to move forward.
So what you're saying is this UNP, leave aside the consensus government, the UNP part of the government will also fall because of them just accusing the former government of being corrupt.
Like UNP is collapsing today, it's cracking up, it's very clear. If you get 10 UNPs to speak on the same subject, they will say different things contradictory to each other. The cabinet is having heated arguments weekly. How can you say UNP is comfortably running the economy? People are suffering. Today, anyone who walks to buy a kilo of rice will come out in a shock.
Economic instability.
Economic instability plus the basics of what the people want, government is unable to deliver today. Say, take rice especially, and other cereals is the same problem. Everyone needs it thrice a day. The government should understand they can't have it floating when they know they can't deliver. These are areas now, if when oil prices go up, they'll have to raise the oil prices.
Let me, since we are running out of time and our producer is shouting in my ear, let me ask you a very short answer for this question. Why can't the joint opposition support President Maithripala Sirisena, who is currently in power, and not the former president in power? Very short answer.
Joint opposition is opposed to the UNP, and President Sirisena is with the UNP. Virtually, though President is not under the UNP, SLP inside government is under the UNP. We cannot support the UNP. We did not get a mandate to support the UNP. We asked for a mandate to form our own government. And our policies are different, our approach will be different and more democratic, with new policies coming in to take Sri Lanka.
Can the SLFP form a government?
SLFP of President Sirisena, I don't think can form a government on their own. The JO is the biggest political force today. If one takes the two different parties, we are the biggest political force, and the UNP will collapse because people will leave the UNP as they are unable to deliver the pledges that they made to the country and to the people.
Thank you, Mr. Gunawardena, for being here with us on the Hot Seat program this evening. We will be joining you once again next week as well with an interesting guest like MP Dinesh Gunawardena. So join us again next week as well. I am Chaturanga Happarachi. Take care.